So RFK comes out with an announcement to basically ban what's been going in our arms for 5 years because of the risk of it. Why is he the first one that says this, and why there are no arrests made for all the things going in our body? We're going to talk about what he's banning, but also we're going to talk about how free these have become. Even down to your local pharmacy and your local Walgreens, they're starting to push free. Why are they free, and what is behind it? We're going to discuss that today with a story from what just happened with RFK. And then we're going to dive into gardens. There was a garden on the side of the road that people were growing food at. The government didn't like how it was in the easement of a sidewalk, nowhere close to a road, and then they decide to destroy it. Take away the crops of these individuals. Why are we allowing government to overstep its boundaries when the government is supposed to work for us? Have you ever wondered why we have regulation enforcement and we're allowing for our own demise and not having freedom? It's unbelievable. We're going to discuss how they're coming for our gardens next, even down to your home and mine, because the risk is right there. I'm going to tell you what happened to me personally dealing with someone coming on my property telling me what I cannot have on my own property. We'll discuss it. And then lastly, we're going to discuss the biggest story that's been trending right now. The warning to Christians, the warning to people who bear arms for their Second Amendment, and also what everybody's missing with this situation that happened yesterday. This sad tragedy that happened yesterday in Minnesota. We're going to discuss the problem probably is liberal ideology. Excuse me, it's not probably, it is. And these liberal states are embracing it. They're telling you to condemn prayer, but condone this lifestyle. Maybe that's the root of the problem. Maybe it's bigger than just earthly. Maybe it's biblical. Let's dive into these stories today. This video starts right now. Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you and humbly thank you for coming alongside and checking out this content. We hope that you enjoy it. Please give us a thumbs up, give us the little hype bonus, whatever you'd like to do, and comment below. Tell us what you think about these stories. These stories are the utmost importance when it comes to our health, our survival as a nation, and then also our freedom. That is what today's things are about. So let's dive in. First, let's talk about what RFK just said about the 2020 situation. Now again, why do we not have people in prison and arrested yet? I blame the DOJ, I blame Congress, because we like to grandstand, we like to talk about how dangerous this stuff was, but we never do anything about it. And we're still not, because guess what? There's still free ones happening at clinics. Let's talk about this. RFK just banned the CV20 for everyone under 65, especially if they do not have an underlying condition. Meaning, if you're healthy, we're telling you you're not allowed to get this anymore. Now, that is unbelievable that we're getting to a point where they said once you have to have it to keep your job, to keep livelihood, to go to a grocery store. But now RFK is saying, look, the damage has been done. We've got to stop this before it gets any worse. It says patients can only receive this if the doctor says they have reasoning to and they have underlying conditions. This is based on what? This doctor came out very upset with RFK and said, I can't even work under this because I believe everybody should have this. Now remember, 2 days ago, go back and watch the video, I made a comment that 50 to 75% of individuals that took this back in 2020 along with the boosters are having underlying problems. 75% are having some kind of autoimmune disorder or some kind of problem that's called lung sickness. 50% are at least having life-debilitating diseases and life-debilitating cancers and life-debilitating ailments. I have 3 individuals I know personally that took the 3 boosters, and to be honest with you, every one of them have spent more time in the hospital this year than they ever have. Now you can say it's completely coincidental. I don't believe so. Think about all the people around you. Did you know I have 2 people? I'm 37 years old. There's 2 people from my class reunion. I mean, we're less than really, we just had a 20-year reunion. We're not that old. And both of them have heart defibrillators and pacemakers now. Is that not unreal? Why would they need heart defibrillators and pacemakers at 37 years old? Both practicing nurses worked in the hospital field. You think it's just coincidence? I don't think so. So what RFK came out and said was, we're not allowing for people to get this anymore unless there is a complete reasoning, because what we're realizing is this is more dangerous than actually getting the less than 1% chance of CV-19 actually causing you harm. Did you know I had it last week? You know, that whole time I was coughing and crouping, I say I had it last week. I don't know, I didn't get tested. I could care less to get tested. But it's going around in our area. And did you know I still filmed? I still worked every day. So I can get through it like I would anything else, like a cold, even the flu. I'd get through it. We can manage. However, what we do when we put this in our body, we're making people rich. We're also seeing side effects of now. I have an individual I know very personally that has to get a filter put in their heart because of the clotting agents they're starting to get. And he did take all 4 series. Do we not see the problems here? Now, here's the thing. Did you know that most doctors are coming out against him? Did you know that some of the CDC is starting to quit because RFK is coming out to actually say, let's don't just be proactive giving this when there's no testing on it? So still to this day, there's people that are blindly following the guidance of saying we should be getting this. Now, why is this an issue? Let's go back. This is not just the banned CV-19. Let's talk about what else is happening. I pulled up yesterday, Misty had to print some pictures at Walgreens. We don't have a place to print pictures here, and these were the kind we're going to hang up in the house. So she got these big ones sent in. So we go to pick up, and there's big signs everywhere. Free this, free this, free this. For children, for flu, all these different things. Free. Now, I told Misty, I said, before 2020, did you ever see any shot free? So now we have the government still enticing people to get some kind of thing in your arm. Now, those same things, think of the flu. How long has the flu been around, and how long have you been taking that flu shot, and how long actually has it actually prevented you from getting the flu? Not too much, has it? They keep saying it's a new strain, new strain, new strain. Did you know in 2020 there was no new strains? 2021, no new strains? It's weird. But then when all of a sudden CV went back away, flu just all of a sudden started back up. And all of a sudden now we need the government backing those shots and paying for them now. I think what RFK is trying to do is expose the fact that we should not be living a lifestyle dependent on this and things that come in a pill jar. We should be depending on lifestyle changes. That is true freedom. Every person that I saw, the 37-year-olds now that have defibrillators, the gentleman who now has to get a filter in his heart because of blood clots, they're now more prisoned than they ever were during 2020. You know why? Because they took something that was not actually tested. They became the guinea pig. My wife and I were having this discussion yesterday too, is the risk of always trusting everything that goes on is a risk that you will become the guinea pig where they learn what went wrong and what went right. I mean, it could work out in your favor, but then it could be like this case where RFK is banning it. He's seeing, look, it's actually causing more harm than good. And to be honest with you, he was even saying with the doctor's appointments, you better have a lot going on to realize that it's not worth taking it anymore. You almost have to lay out the risk. Now, that's what they were telling you 3, 4, 5 years ago. So you tell me now, why is it fair that we hire these people, we pay their salaries, and they enforce something on us that actually caused us more harm than good? And now RFK, after 5 years, the only person in our government is now saying that this is the truth. When people got banned, like Dr. Robert and Dr. Peter, all these people that got banned from talking and telling the truth, why do we not see prison orange on some of these people that were pressing this on us in 2020, 2021, and 2022? The sad part is most doctors are up in arms about it. Why? Is it because they truly want to give you this and they think it's healing? No, I think it's a lot more than that. I think they realize that their gravy train, their money train, their easy cash flow is now leaving them because government's not backing it and these big pharma companies can't push it. The truth is, it's actually harming us more than we ever saw before. Look at the statistics. Go back and watch the last 5 videos I did because I make mention of this. Do not be blinded. Now, before we go into the next story, I want to talk about Chapter, our sponsor for today, because what we're discussing with what RFK just did, this will lead me right to the next story dealing with the freedoms that we're losing. But before we talk about that, a word for today's sponsor, Chapter. What Chapter does is a company that comes alongside you. They advise you to make sure you're getting the right plans for you. One thing I've realized is that when government's hands are on things in our lives, it actually doesn't run better. Think of 2020. Think of this. We're realizing later that it didn't run too smoothly. Well, Social Security and Medicare don't run the smoothest, and it's actually got a lot of problems with it. And then everybody wants to sell you certain supplement policies to make sure you're getting covered because this didn't cover you, this didn't cover you, you got to pay out of pocket for this. Sometimes that's hard to understand. Well, what Chapter does is they come alongside you for it's $0 for free. They're an advisor for you to make sure that these insurance companies are not taking advantage of you, but also that you're getting what actually benefits you personally. So they know what all plans are and they advise what's best for you. A 15 or 20 minute call could save you a lot of money. The average American who uses Chapter, who uses their services to say, am I on the right plan or not, saves $1,100. We have had so many testimonials where people are coming back saying they've saved money. I have not yet got one saying that Chapter didn't do something for them. So check with them. I mean, again, it costs you nothing. 15 minutes on this phone number right here will save you a lot of money. If you're 65 and older or about to be, and you have so many questions about Medicare and understanding what best benefits you, Chapter can help. Check with Chapter today. You'll be glad that you did. Now let's move on to this story dealing with what happened yesterday. And then we're going to talk about the gardening, because all this goes back to regulation enforcement and also the dangers of what we promote and what we do not. Now this situation yesterday, what everybody's missing is that not only was this kid and his ideology backed by his parents, not only was this kid allowed to transition because of the state that he lived in, because of the area he lived in. Not only that, his social media presence had very, very, very dangerous rhetoric on it. However, people like conservatives get censored on this, but liberals wouldn't because of his ideology. There's a bigger play here. Now, everybody's said that we couldn't use what he believed, as in his ideology, his liberal ideology, his hatred towards Christianity, his hatred towards God, his hatred towards Trump and conservatism, his hatred towards America, his hatred towards Jewish people. Now, they're saying that has nothing to do with this, and the fact that his trans push has nothing to do with this. He said he was just a sick, nomadic guy. No, there's a bigger problem here. Studies show that most of these situations with these mass casualty events happen in the hands, honestly, in the majority of this ideology. Hatred towards Trump, hatred towards conservatism, hatred towards Christianity, hatred towards Jews, and the ideology of the trans movement. I love this comment from William Wolf. It says, the LGBT movement went from just bake the cake, you bigot, to affirm the trans delusions. And then the next is, I'll take out the Christian school. Do you see how that slippery slope went? It went from, look, just let me be and you be, and we will live in America with freedoms. To then, well, we're going to push our views on you. To then, if you don't believe in our views, we're going to persecute you. That's what's happening. I love what Jack Posobiec says, that we need a national organized force of armed men dedicated to protecting our churches and religious schools. This was not just an attack on people. It was an attack on the most vulnerable, children. Now, it wasn't just an attack on the children. It was an attack on a certain group of children. It wasn't some random boys and girls club. It wasn't some random school. It was a Christian school. It was a conservative Christian school. It was one that pushed against his ideology. So what I'm saying is this. The bigger problem here is not just the fact that some guy's evil, that he has bad views, that he's got some mental problems. Yeah, that all has to do with it. But the truth be told is, it may be demonic. That was the headline today in New York Post. It said, very demonic. I'll let you look at that. I think what people are finally realizing is this is not a battle with just earthly intentions. Did you know who a lot of these people and a lot of these mass casualty events are targeting is conservative Christians? Now you'll hear Ilhan Omar, you'll hear Jacob Frey, you'll hear Amy Klobuchar, all these people, Tim Walz, all these people from Minnesota, and saying, look, people are using this to go against the trans movement. You better believe that we should. But they're saying that's not the problem. The problem is we need no firearms. And I'm going to be honest with you. If this was not a gun-free zone and those teachers were carrying and they had security guards in a conservative area, that would happen. But in a liberal city where you should get out of, what actually took place? No one could protect these children. So first of all, this should prove your point. Get out of these liberal cities, because instead of taking up for the kids, instead of saying you should be praying for the families, they said prayer won't work. We need to get rid of guns. They are now actively and aggressively moving towards, they're moving towards more hatred of Christians. They're saying your prayer doesn't work. That is demonic. So you see, the movement, not just the fact that this kid did something terrible, and he did. You have politicians that's almost backing this derangement because they're trying to cover it up. They're trying to ghost the fact that this kid had mental problems, demonic problems, and the fact that he pushed this liberal ideology, that he was transitioned under 18 by his parents. I would arrest his parents. You wonder why we cannot get our crap together. It's because our breakdown of our family. And this was a complete breakdown of our family. And now because of this, liberal ideology in these schools are backing it. You've got to get your kids out of these liberal schools. You've got to get out of these liberal areas, because what's going to happen is you're next on the persecution. The attack yesterday was by that one guy on that school. The attack by the politicians has truly been on the right of freedom of prayer and Christianity, and also the right to bear arms, the first two amendments. That is what the talking points for the Democrats were just yesterday. Even some rhino Republicans, like the Trey Gowdies of the world, their push was for guns confiscation. Why don't you listen to what this anchor said about America? This is from MSNBC. He says, every handgun, whether or not you like it or not, it only really works to tone down this mass casualty event if we act like Australia. You know what Australia did? They took people's rights away. No one in Australia has one. They don't have a Second Amendment right. They don't have the right to bear arms. They don't carry. They can't carry. It's illegal. So what that does is put all the power to the government and no power to the people. They took their freedom away because of these kind of events. These kind of things are tragic, but they use them. Politicians and evil, demonic people use this to tell you that, well, it's hate, probably because the Christians cause so much hate and violence. Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, said yesterday he was taking up for trans movement and trans rights during this instead of taking up for the Christian movement. Go back and watch the footage. It is sickening. It is purely demonic. Demonic. And then to say, well, then the problem actually is not that this kid is mentally ill and challenged and has all these issues. School's not the problem, even though school condoned it. Parents are not the problem, because even though the parents condoned it. No, the problem is the right to bear arms. Now, I want to ask you this. This is such common sense. We have laws, right? So the law of basically obeying simple things, like don't speed. People still speed, don't they? Okay? The fact that it says you cannot actually steal something from a store. People are still stealing every day, correct? Okay. Who doesn't steal a pack of gum or a Coke from a store? The law-abiding citizens, correct? Like, I would never steal something. That doesn't even interest me. I don't even understand why people would steal it. But people still do, don't they? Okay, let's think this for a second. This is what the Democrats are saying. They want law-abiding citizens to not have the right to bear arms to protect themselves. The people that already are not breaking the law, ableness to keep their kids safe. Now, for the people who are wanting to break the law, do you honestly believe they're going to say, well, the government doesn't want me to have it now, so I'm not going to worry about it? Did you know in D.C., the people they've been busting, they've busted a ton of illegal firearms that they've taken away from people that they shouldn't have them, trying to commit crimes. Now, if they were law-abiding, they wouldn't have the illegal versions of them, correct? So what that means is, even though you set laws to take away my rights to own a firearm, do you honestly believe the criminal who is trying to cause harm to Americans is going to just say, well, look, the law says I can't do it, I'm not going to do it anymore? No, that's why they're criminals. So this guy would have broke the law no matter what the law stated, because ultimately his goal was to do harm. It was a demonic, tragic situation. So people laws and regulations and enforcement does not actually help Americans actually keep their family safe. It actually allows for them to be in prison so the crime can still take place. Look at your cities. Look at the cities. The cities have some of the toughest, strictest firearm permit laws, and they are the ones that have the most crime. Think about it. Republican, Democrat, states, doesn't matter. You look at the cities. Look at the hearts of the cities. The most dangerous cities have the toughest laws when it comes to firearms, and the toughest laws when it comes to everything else, and they're the ones that's got the most crime, because guess what? The criminal does not care about your stupid law. So when you hear these Democrats wanting to push you, what they're actually wanting to do is take away the rights of the Christian, take away the rights of the firearm holder, take away the rights of you as a parent, because you're the one that's got to send your kids to school because you got to pay for everything, so you can't homeschool. So they're getting indoctrinated, and then on top of that, the risk of their lives. Now, the last point of this is, let's go back to what I just said, the Christian part of this. He didn't attack some public school. He attacked a Christian school. His target was Jesus followers. His target were conservatives. Can't we just realize this is demonic? Can't we just realize this is way bigger than just a mental illness, that it actually is a war of good and evil? Can we just be honest there? Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone being so messed up in the head that they're willing to hurt the most vulnerable among us? That's not just a mental problem. That's evil. And here's the thing. These liberal schools, these liberal ideologies, these liberal states, these liberal politicians are the ones that is condoning it. They're embracing it. The mayor literally embraced trans movements yesterday and how we shouldn't hate them. Said nothing about caring for the Christians. Actually made fun of prayer. These kids were praying and they didn't save them. Man, what a very sacrilegious thing to say, and what a hard get out of these liberal places. Please. I don't care if it makes you go in debt. You've got to get away from these liberal cities, because it's going to cause harm to you the more that they can control. These mass casualty events gives them more permits and more purpose and more enforcement and more regulation to fight against you. The chief of police, who's supposed to be on your side, correct? He came out yesterday from Minnesota and said, well, we can't actually set a motive yet. What? You can't set a motive? The guy had YouTube videos, and the guy had all this stuff laid on his bed with writing on the wall against Christianity, God, Jesus, conservatism, Trump, and Jews. And you can't see a pattern there? You idiot. And that was the chief of police. So what did I tell you? Sometimes backing the police, if they're based on enforcing the law of the liberal ideology, they're actually not helping you. They're causing more harm for you, and you're not protected at all. This is what's breaking my heart. It's because this is a spiritual war more than it is anything. It's a mental breakdown of our society, and it shows the breakdown of our family that's going to keep on getting worse, because these politicians, these people, they love chaos because it allows them to have more enforcement, more regulation, and more power. Watch if you don't see more people pushing for it. Watch if you don't see more congressmen trying to take your rights away. Watch and to say, watch and see, because it's going to happen. So you better start buying and stockpiling now, and make sure you're putting them up in safe places and making sure you're buying them with cash when you can. I'm just telling you, it's getting to that point where you have to take care of yourself and have a responsibility, because no one's going to do it for you. You wonder why we homeschool? You wonder why we carry bug-out bags? You wonder why our eyes are always looking around? You wonder why we are in a conservative area? Because we know the government cannot fix our problems. And these cities are going to keep getting worse, because the liberal ideology is still running strong, and they're going to still win these elections and still push whatever propaganda they want to make you believe it. Because look at what happened yesterday. We don't need prayers. We need rights, gun rights. I'm sure that criminals are going to abide those laws, right? Come on. Last story I want to bring up, because this speaks near and dear to me because of the independence that we've been really talking about the last few days. This was a story, and I want to bring this up because this was in Illinois. And this is happening everywhere. When HOAs get involved, when governments get involved, and regulatory bottoms get involved. And then I'm going to talk about what a person told me when they were coming to look at Aiden's pad. All right, this came from Wall Street Apes. It said, American moved to Moringa, Illinois, and they planted sunflowers, fruits, and vegetables for sustainability in their garden. The garden got a little too close to the road in the corner of the city lot, so they were told to clean up. The city sent people by and said, look, you've got to get this junk away from the curb. Now, it was not harming anything. It literally caused no problem for the road or a sidewalk. It was food. It's seasonal food. So meaning within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, depending on how long the crop is growing, it would be taken away anyways. But ultimately it was giving food for the animals, but also giving food for these people. Guess what? When the people tried to protest this and say, look, just let it grow and then we will move it whenever it's overgrown, and again, it's not getting into the sidewalk, they were keeping it clean. The city stepped in, they came and they cut and destroyed the garden because it was close to the easement. It says it later confirmed that she planted these, and it never would have happened. All it was just the city retaliating against them because it was within the measure and margin of city right-of-ways. Now, again, we go to regulation enforcement. We go to the fact that cities have too much power, states have too much power, government has too much power. This lady was just trying to grow food. Now, don't you go back and Google in World War II what the government was pushing. They actually promoted backyard chickens. They promoted backyard gardens. They promoted helping other families out and bartering goods by giving them milk and butter, helping each other. Boy, have we lost our way now that where government is tearing up the crops, telling you can't grow, ordinance around it, so therefore you have to depend on other people to provide it for you. Being too close to the road allowed them to retaliate, and even though this person was a taxpayer that helped pay for the workers' salaries, they came and destroyed her crop. Now this was just in Illinois. This is going to keep on happening. HOAs are going to take your rights to grow food away. Also, most subdivisions now won't allow you to have one chicken or one rabbit or one kind of animal in your on your property. They won't allow you to grow gardens in the front. You can grow little patio gardens. You can grow in the back, but as long as no one sees it. We've lost our way, people. I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. There was a guy that came and was lining out for energy and all this for the city. The city and county, excuse me, this area has to have lines certain ways, certain regulations, of course, by law, and it's stupid. I think it's absolutely crazy that you have to give permits and passes for the city or county and regulatory bodies. But I digress. They came out here and he said, you know that the regulation says in this county you can't raise swine in certain areas. And see, basically when I got part of my land annexed, and I'm in the county in some part, and then I'm in an annexed commercial zone in another part because they were trying to grow the area. No industry came this way, but they annexed it so they could charge me more taxes. But anyways, in this zoning for that side, because it was considered quote unquote industrial, even though there's no industry close to me, they said, well, swine can't be grown here. I said, why would you tell me that I can't? He said, well, I can't tell you, but I would just say that, you know, if the county ever hears this and they know that it's annexed, you may have to get rid of the swine. Now, this is my property I paid for. I paid my property tax over $37,000 a year in property tax for all my property. And this guy from the government is telling me I can't have those because of the way they deemed it, just in case one day in the future some industry comes within a few miles of my property. Because they can't go right there because I own it. Now, something so simple. This guy didn't cause a problem. He left like the little weakling he was, and didn't say anything probably because I ain't got a call. Here's what I'm saying though. This is my property. That's their property. Whose tax dollars pays for the roads, the people that work there? It's our money. We have been so bamboozled to think that government has power. What? We're the ones that fund their power. We're the ones that give them money. We're the ones that set up their regulation because we give them the power. Let's take that power back. We should be able to grow as much food as we want, be as independent as we want, have as much on our property as we want without the government intervention. These people, I hope they go to every town hall meeting and throw an absolute fit and start a community garden bigger than they had before. Because it's amazing to me that the government will come in and tear up that, but I bet you money there's crime in their streets. I bet you there's projects and Section 8 housing in different areas of that city, because it's close to Chicago, by the way. So I imagine there's a lot of other issues they could deal with other than tearing up someone's garden. They took their garden away because it was close to a sidewalk. However, there's probably people stealing each and every day in their arrest reports in that paper. And it's close to Chicago, and we know what goes on in Chicago. Why is the focus of the government on a garden and not on things like actually fixing the problems? This person's just trying to be independent. Why is the swine a problem? It's not. But if you took my swine away, it gets me dependent on that government, right? Gets me dependent on that grocery store, right? You take their farm away. You take their cucumbers away. You take their tomatoes away. You take their gardens away. You're taking their independence away, right? See, the thing about all these stories that we talked about, you better have your freedom to speech, to grow your own food, independence, responsibility, to bear arms, Second Amendment, and to realize that Christianity, conservatism, independence, there's a war on those things. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. The government is too big, and they're pulling all their strings to take the power from you. For 5 years, you've got this in your arm because you trusted everyone. To now for RFK to turn around and ban it because all of a sudden you realize that it actually is harming people than it's actually helping. What that shows is the government doesn't have the answer. They want to take the law-abiding citizens, the independents, the conservatives, the Christians, the people that has the right to bear arms, the law-abiding people, and make more problems for them and let the cities and the crazies run rampant. Because they know if civil unrest happens, civil disobedience happens, the cities run amok, crime runs like crazy, it gives more power to them. And you better pay attention. You better start buying, and you better start putting up and stockpiling the Second Amendment rights along with the brass and the bullets to go along with it. Because no one's going to protect you, no one's going to protect your church, no one's going to protect your children, but you. Be ready, be vigilant, be prepared. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on today's video and all these stories, because I do believe this is a demonic, biblical thing that's happening. And the powers that be, it's going to be a fight for good and evil. And I hope you're on the side of good. Guys, let me know your thoughts. God bless.
Be free, be free.